Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the crumpiest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my good friend in the building, my man Donovan Sadiq, the Queen, Demetra Case, and I am the 5-star general. Say it's a lot of hate among black activists. Every time you take one step, somebody snatched the rug up from under you. And you got to start from the beginning. Tonight, we're going to talk about the hate among Blacktavist. Get a seatbelt. This one going to be good. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone and tell you that without a doubt, man, you are the best audience in the world. And we appreciate you guys tuning in every single night because you could be doing something else besides listening to two intelligent black people in a crazy black Republican. You really could be doing something else. But we appreciate you, tuning in regardless, man. So I want to start it off by keeping everybody in my prayers on this Gulf line, man, and even the people in Louisiana with this tropical storm that's coming through city of Houston. It dropped a lot of water today. Flooding wasn't that bad, but I expect it to get horrible tonight and tomorrow. Make sure you got everything you need in your house. You got your batteries. If you're smart, you got a cooler full of meat and a barbecue pit in case the lights go out. I want to start off with some news. Today, it finally came out that the chief operating officer of the Houston Independent School District, Mr. Brian Busby, and for those in St. Landry Parish, I need you to listen close. Mr. Busby has been indicted. He has been indicted, and what it is getting kickbacks off of contracts. From what we see in the court documents, Mr. Busby was in cahoots with a vendor who I actually know the vendor, Mr. Hutchinson, who cuts all the grass in HISD, and some kind of way they were running a scheme, and Hutch was kicking him money back. This is why I'm telling y'all, keep y'all eyes on these school systems because these people are on it. And Brian is a good guy, on a personal level, he's a good guy. But the last thing I told you, big homie, if you don't call me Monday, somebody gonna get you. That was on Thursday night. The next Wednesday, them people walked in the building. So for those in those school systems that are corrupt, when 5-star come looking for you, don't get mad when I come to get you. I don't play no games when it comes to these kids and in these schools. Donovan, what's going on, my friend?
Absolutely. The wildfires here in California are still kicking butt and taking names, and it's still hot out here. But I just want to talk about, it's been a couple of days now since the notorious RGB has passed. And I just have to just say, it's amazing how everybody is upping this woman's legislative prowess, but they can't name any kind of legislative thing that's named after her that she is prolific about. And then if they actually do her homework and do their homework, wasn't she the woman that said that people that are protesting Colin Kaepernick and people that are protesting are stupid? Wasn't she the lady that said that? Wasn't she also the Democratic lady that hung out with Anthony Scalia? A man that was totally against anything for black people. But yet everybody's R-upping and stuff like that. So what I would say to the audience, just real quick, just as an update, they're still doing the tributes. Do your homework on Ruth Ginsburg, and you will find that she is not what they're telling you she is.
You're going to get a bunch of heat for that one, bro. Because right now they on another level. But she did say those things about the Colin Kaepernick situation. And I'm like you, do your research, man. Y'all need to do your research. Ms. Demetra.
So hello, everybody. I was actually reading something, so I didn't want to look like I was despondent or like, I was actually reading something. So anyway, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing very well on this Monday afternoon. We are coming, what is it? Fall is tomorrow. I think fall starts tomorrow. Thank God, even though in Southern California it doesn't really kind of feel like this fall. It's still almost 100 degrees, but that's whatever. So anyway, we are going to get to talking about Blacktavist, jealousy amongst Blacktavist. So what is a Blacktavist? A Blacktavist is a Black activist, somebody who advocates on behalf of to bring attention to or to spark change and all of that stuff. Gary, I sent you a video. Can you put that up at all? And on the process of him trying to see if he could put that up, I came across a video from that of Dr. Umar Johnson, and he was speaking on Grandmaster Jay and the NFAC. And it sounds like it's a very short clip, but someone wants him to discredit that of the NFAC. And he's like, I'm not going to do that because, for one, I don't have enough evidence to say that they are agents or, something other than what they present themselves to be. But Dr. Umar Johnson basically said we as Black people need to get out of the habit of tearing down Black men and women, especially those who are trying to do the work. And he spoke really from a personal point of view and saying that, people try to do it to me. He says, I've helped more Black boys in the last 25 years than anybody has, but he's continuously dodging darts and, criticism of things that people say he has or has not done. And so he's like, until further notice, I'm going to take the NFAC at their word and that they're actually trying to help Black people. But I love the fact that he really admonished a lot of people for saying, hey, you know what? Knock it off. At some point in time, we just got to get to a point where we stand behind people who are really trying to help others. And so you talk about something because, again, they've accused Grandmaster Jay of being an agent. But we've heard about many agents throughout time. That of James Jones, who took down the UNIA, of Marcus Garvey. He was an FBI agent. In fact, he was the first Black FBI agent enlisted to the FBI, him and a couple other guys, but they called him Agent 800. Then, of course, there was that of William O'Neill, who infiltrated the Black Panther Party. And there's a whole host of other ones. And I bring them up to say this. Most of the time when an agent is operating within an organization, they are not out front as a Grandmaster Jay is. They don't pool, thousands of people together, to try to bring justice, in this case, to Black people. They usually work quietly with the inner workings of whatever organization that it is. But specifically, even more specifically than that, we want to get into the jealousy amongst Blacktavist, and basically why it exists and what we can do to get rid of it. And I will just say this, a lot of times jealousy happens really with anything is because the person that's jealous or envious, they don't really see themselves doing it, or they feel like the person that is doing it is taking more limelight, if you will, away from them. And so they try their best to tear it down or to make it something other than. Those are the people too, when, let's say, like when the NFAC, when they had the mishap, somebody's gun discharged, you had a whole host of people, I told you so, look at them, they're not this and they're not that. And that was their little moment to kind of like jump on it and try to invalidate what they are doing. But we need to figure out why we are here, why this jealousy exists, and what we can do to stop it. So I'll give it back to you, Gary.
Yeah, it's amazing that you brought that up. I think we saw an attack on me last week as an activist. I mean, but I'm really, like I tell people, I'm not an activist, I'm an advocate. It's a big difference. I'm a paid advocate. Let's get that straight. And if I decide I want to help people, then so be it. But, when you're out there and you're helping, I think Jay even spoke on that. Grandmaster Jay even spoke on it one day where he got a little frustrated with people that, he's an agent, he's this and he's that. And, I'm kind of like Dr. Umar. I mean, I take everything at face value until you show me something else. then I'm gonna run with you on what you're doing. Whether he's an agent or not, he chose to stand up and do something that nobody else had done in the country. I got to do this real quick. I want to send a shout out to my man Michael J. Hickey. He's the head football coach at my old high school, Jackie A. Senior High School. They getting ready to unleash them young lions on high school football, and I want to wish him good luck this season. It's funny that you brought that up because when you called me, I think we had maybe 30 minutes before we were gonna come on. And I was taking a nap because I had been out all day doing what I normally do, which is be out and work in the community. And you tossed a couple of ideas my way about subject matter for tonight. Cause y'all, we don't pre-write this show. We do this what you seeing right now. This is how we do it. You know, straight off the dome. And when you brought up the issue of black activists, something happened to me today that I felt was just garbage. And it comes from an organization that I'm a member of, and it kind of just pissed me off. And that would make me never want to work with them in any capacity. I'm talking about the NAACP of Lafayette, Louisiana. Now, I'm a member of the NAACP, the Houston branch. Well, the president of the NAACP, and I see my man Charlie Luau on here. He runs a militia in the state of Louisiana. Good dude. We had a conversation, and we kind of got the same ideologies on a lot of different things. The thing is she decided that she would bring the NFAC to Lafayette, Louisiana. And I want to dispel the rumor that, you know, 5 Stars a member of the NFAC. No, I'm not. I'm not a member of the NFAC. She decided she would bring them to Lafayette, Louisiana. Now, what I want to do, Demetri, is I want to read a law that's in the state of Louisiana. It's Title 14 Criminal Law, RS 14-329.2. Inciting to riot. Inciting to riot is the endeavor by any person to incite or procure any other person to create or participate in a riot. Why am I saying that? Because you've decided, Miss Margie of the NAACP of Lafayette, Louisiana, that you would bring the NFAC, who I've never seen participate in a riot, who I've never seen burn a building down or throw a brick at a cop. You would bring them to Lafayette, Louisiana. So today there was a big meeting. And in the meeting was some prominent politicians, the mayor of Lafayette, the sheriff of Lafayette Parish, and some local activists. And one of them happened to be Chris Bernard. And the question came up, who decided to bring the NFAC to Lafayette, Louisiana? Well, somebody say, was it 5 Star? Chris said, hell no. No, but the person that did it was sitting in the damn room. She was sitting in the room and never opened her mouth. Because what happens if this goes left? Then guess what? That law can come into effect. And the last person I knew to deal with that law was Eric Johnson, my old record label mate from Parlay Records. Vicious, they used this law on him on something that happened to him and gave him 15 years in the state penitentiary in the state of Louisiana. Marjorie Broussard, don't never worry about 5 Star working with you because you threw a rock when you decided to do what you needed to do, but you tried to hide your fucking hands and you tried to throw me in that water today. So I don't give a damn who watching. When the NFAC come, will 5 Star be there? You goddamn right, dressed in all black and ready to rock and roll and go into formation or whatever we need to do. I'm also going to be there to shake the hand of Charlie Luau, who runs a militia, who's not there to intimidate black people, who's there as a member of the United States of America, and he believes in the Constitution. And that's what he's going to be there for. And I'll shake his damn hand in the middle of Evangeline Thurey in front of everybody. But what I don't like is an activist, which I consider the NAACP to be one of the oldest, most prominent agencies or organizations that deals with activism. It's a more active branch than I've ever seen in Lafayette compared to what I see in Houston. But I think, Miss Margie, that you clout chasing. I think, Miss Margie, that you looking for the spotlight. And I think you got something on your hands and you're a little bit goddamn nervous. So the thing is, that's your rock. So if the shit turn out bad, then that's on you. But the hate among activists, this is the type of shit that some of us do that make the good activists not want to work with the bad activists. Donovan?
And that's a great point because, you really have to go back to the civil rights era and remember Jesse Jackson was a lieutenant of Martin Luther King. And when Martin Luther King was assassinated, and if you look at the statements of Jesse Jackson when they were taking statements of what actually happened, based on what Jesse said from his transcript to what was actually forensically proven, Jesse was nowhere to be around there. And then all of a sudden he usurps the leadership or whatever, and he's making all the money and all this other stuff. And that's another conspiracy type situation. But the funny thing with us is when it comes to getting paid, we can't stand. I mean, a good example. Why is it that there can never be no more than so many Black people at the top in Hollywood? You got Denzel, you got Lawrence, you got, there's only a certain amount of numbers. It's the same thing when it comes to the activism too as well. We're only going to allow certain people to call themselves leaders or the ones that go out there and that are constructive, And what we do is we sabotage each other. Like I said, that lady's sitting there being quiet, knowing what you know. And this is how we are as a people. We're thinking, hey, we're all on the same team. Not all skin folks are kin folks, it just doesn't work that way. So she's hoping that the general's going to be quiet and nobody's really going to say anything. So by the time they put everything together, all the stuff that's going to crumble is going to fall in the NFAC, the 5-star, all the bad activists. And that brings her to prominence. And that's just, the politics is a very, very dirty thing because it will step on anybody in its way just to get to the top. It's incredible.
It's not easy being an activist. It's not easy being an advocate. It's not easy to step out there and speak up for right because there's so many people doing wrong that everybody wants to come after you. In my city, I've been blessed to work with the top activists in the city, Black, white, Asian, Indian. I mean, I some Indian kids called me one day and they were doing something at Fort Bend. They wanted to build an organization. And, 5-star, we need your help. Tell me what you need me to do, man, and I want to help you get it going. So I've always been the one to reach and work with them. In my city, the only people that I had a problem with was Black Lives Matter, who went on this, this tour trying to tell people that I was a fake activist and I was this and I was that. But yet I was out there doing the work. And ever since then, we kind of squashed it. And went on about our business. But words are like bullets. Once you shoot them, you can't take them back. You know what I'm saying? And it's the crabs in the barrel mentality for a lot of people. I applaud those young people, the Devins, the Jamals, the Chris's, the Sco Monies, the Tyras in Lafayette, Louisiana for stepping out there. I applaud Tyra for a lot of reasons. She a white woman. And she in the middle of a Black cause. So you know how many times that they done just attacked this girl and they done said things about her that, I feel like even if you feel that way, shut the fuck up because you ain't doing the work. That's just how I feel. It is tough some days, and it's days where I just want to say the hell with the game and walk off. But then I think about the people that I'm walking off from. And it's more them than it is haters. So I just keep pushing. Demetri.
So I often say real revolutionaries often die without friends, or revolutionaries have no friends, and they often die without ends. They often die broke because they are not in it for the fame, the fortune, the limelight and the accolades. They're not in it for that. They're actually in it for the love of people. And it is a job that rarely pays, right? We can always go back to the example of Malcolm X. He died with nothing, you know, but he gave his life for Black people. And here we are in 2020. We still repeat the things that he told us, even though we weren't there, but our people so many years ago, we still repeat them and still trying to get everybody else on board. But it's not a job that you'll have a lot of friends. You'll often have people turn on you. You'll often always have to have your head on swivel, wondering who's really your friend, you know, who's really there to see what they can get from it. And then ultimately, you know, Farrakhan always talks about it. He says, you know, basically, there's no doubt in his mind that there are people that are near and dear to him that would sell him out. Because usually, whoever they are, the FBI, the man oppressed, the, you know, white supremacy, they usually do get somebody in. When I say in, you know, the inner workings of Black people, they get somebody in to basically tear down what is trying to be built. Now, Charlie, he's basically questioning whether the NFAC is legit. I guess who knows, right? We have to take them on their surface, but it's funny how we rarely ever question whether other things are legit, right? The NAACP has been around since what, 1908, and yeah, people have questioned their legitimacy, but they're still here, and they no doubt have gotten in bed with a whole lot of questionable people. But they're still, you know, fully, I don't want to say fully functional, like they're actually doing a bang up job for Black people, but their organization is still up and running. But, you know, people flock to them as the pillar of the Black community. But nowadays, especially, they help everybody but Black people. But you have a group such as the NFAC, who is, you know, really out there putting it all on the line for Black people. And then we have people from all over. Well, are they real? I even see people say, well, his vest don't look real. It looks like a toy vest. He out here playing. It's like, Lord have mercy. Like, are we really that in love with oppression? It's crazy. But yeah, revolutionaries, you're really trying to be that. Get used to it being a very lonely walk. It's a thankless job.
Who would actually have a problem with a guy that's fighting for children in school? Who would have a problem with a guy that's trying to expose corrupt school systems? Who would have a problem with somebody that's trying to expose corrupt politicians? You see what I'm saying? Who would have a problem with that? And this is what us out here that battle every day, that we face on a daily basis. Not only do we have to fight the systems that keep us oppressed, we got to fight the Negroes. It ain't them white folk, it's the Negroes that just don't want to do the work. You know, this program is an activism type program to begin with. I got a picture the other day, y'all didn't know, from Terrence Wolford. He actually works for Park and Rec with the city of Houston. And he sent me a picture of his shed, where he has riding mowers and blowers and weed eaters, because just sitting on this show, listening to these three quote unquote activists, he decided to start his own business. And now he's making more money doing that than he was making, you know, doing what he was doing. So my question is why do we have a problem with the people that's doing the work? But yet we keep screaming, we so far behind and they doing this to us. 98% of the time it's us doing it to us. It's us doing it. No matter how much Dr. King got his head split open, it was some Negro somewhere that had a problem with it. But yet you wouldn't take your ass over there and hang out with my man with the bow tie and the bean pies, because you didn't have the heart to do that. You know, no matter if we like John Lewis or not, he did things that a lot of Black people didn't even have the courage to do. Medgar, Fred Shuttlesworth. I mean, my man, for real, with the Panthers. You know man, I'm just so excited when I think about these dudes. You know, Fred Hampton. You know what I'm saying? Geronimo Pratt. No matter what they did, it was never good enough to some of our people. And y'all make it tough, man. But I'm gonna tell you something. It's gonna take a lot for y'all to run me up out the goddamn building, because I don't plan on going nowhere. The only way I'm gonna lead the game is when the man put me in the box. And even in the box, I'm gonna be kicking. I'm gonna be kicking the worms in the ground, because I'm just not gonna lay there and let it be wrong.
Exactly. For a lot of you guys, will sit there, and Dimitri will tell you, I am known as a pariah out in my area, especially when it comes to the politics. I mean, if you stay on my good side and you're running a good campaign, no problem. But the funny thing is, as bad as I'm known, and my reputation is, oh, he's going to eat your head, and oh, you mess with this guy, oh, he's going to do this to you, and Donovan is just, oh, he's just too much, and just don't flee from him, flee. But then when the everyday person needs something done, I get a message or I get an email, and then I go to the city council and I stand up for people who don't want to stand up for themselves. And I don't try to highlight myself at all. I mean, that ain't me. I'm a shadow warrior. I'm one of those people you call that. I like to stay in the background and drop documents. So a good example is I have my own show that I've been doing out here for years. Dimitri, comes on every now and then. I just don't sit up here and just be arguing and screaming and hollering. I go get public documents and I drop them on these people and expose the corruption that is still going on in my city. The biggest FBI bribe to a public official that has ever happened in the United States happened in my city. And people wonder why I have an itch up my ass. My city is full of corruption. And you know what the sad thing is? Most of the people doing the corruption are Democrats. Democrats. They're the ones getting caught. I'm not saying Republicans aren't doing it, but the Democrats are the ones getting caught.
Well, we've seen this playbook before, Dimitri. I mean, they go after Sean King almost every day. Now, I don't agree with Sean on everything, but Sean can touch some shit and make some shit happen some days. You see what I'm saying? But no matter how much good he does, somebody has a problem with it. Another good example is Minister Cornell X. You stay wanting to drag him, but if Cornell don't sneak up in the police station, you never find Malia Davis's body. And even then, you didn't want to give him credit. You still wanted to tear him down, man. And I don't get it some days, Dimitri. But I know, you've spoken on Sean before, how they've attacked Sean. And even Dr. Umar, they've attacked him. No matter how many, good ones we have, you either discourage them or you run them off. And it's just sickening when you think about it.
And so the fact that you brought up Sean King, I'm actually in the process of reading his book. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. I'm a bad reader. I read a bunch of books at a time. And so I've started reading his book, Make Change. But, he talked about not too long ago how he struggles to, even now, how he struggles to feed or to take care of his family. Because people are always accusing him of, taking this money and that money and starting it. He said, I struggle to this day to take care of my family. And I follow him on Twitter, and he was just, going on and on about how it's hard for him to take care of his family, and he doesn't get paid to do this, that, and the other. And I basically kind of cussed him out a little bit. And I was like, what the hell you on here telling us you don't get paid? You need to ask for the money. Forget what all these people saying to you. Oh, you taking the money. You should be taking money. Sean King has helped so many cases and people by using his platform to bring awareness to it, where a lot of cases, a lot of times it wouldn't have been brought to a lot of people's attention. And he's, trying to convince people that I don't get money for this and I don't get money for that. I'm like, nah, the hell with them. Because it's going to always be the broke people mad that you getting some money. You're supposed to get money if you're helping people. This stuff, it's like it's hard to do this for free. You can then, and Gary, I'm preaching to the choir. There's some things you can do for free, but there's a lot of things you can't, like You don't punch a clock 9 to 5. A lot of activists don't punch a clock from 9 to 5. And so in order to go put on the cape and go help people, it takes money. But we have gotten to the point as a people to where we got our true activists afraid to take money or help or anything because they're afraid that somebody's going to cast a negative light on them. Oh, they're getting paid. And, you know, yes, they're getting paid. And I tell activists all the time, say, hell yeah, I'm getting paid. You get paid to do a job. I should get paid to do a job too. But we need to take that stigma away from activists making money. And they're like, how much sense does it make? Like when I think about Sean King and not, you know, being able to take care of his family the way he should, it makes me mad because he goes off and helps other people get justice. And, you know, and a lot of times a lot of settlements are made and they get money, but yet, and they're kind of okay. I know they might have lost a loved one, but then he goes back home and probably has a conversation with his wife, like, you know, are we going to be able to pay the mortgage this month after he's gone off and helped people? So activists need to get that out of their head that it's a horrible thing to be compensated for what you do. As long as you're above board and not ripping people off and all that other stuff, get your money unapologetically.
Well, I want to say this. I want to address the comment by Armand Clemens. Dr. Umar is tripping with that school. Now, I want to ask you a question. Just be honest. When have you seen the financial records from the school? When have you visited the school? See, we go by what we hear. Somebody do a YouTube video, you know, and then all of a sudden they this and they that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Armand. I'm just asking those questions. When have you asked to see the financial records from the school? Because if it's a school, you can see them. You can ask to see them, and they have to present them. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, not getting paid to be an activist, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this as loud as I can say it. I ain't turning down nothing but my goddamn collar. Because for the first 3 years of me doing this, I didn't get paid a dime. And I worked hundreds of assignments. I didn't get paid a quarter. So every piece of paper that I had to print, that was on me. All that gas money, that was on me. Paying people off to get information to help my clients, that was on me. So I'm thinking, hold on, man, it's got to be a better way. And then I started researching advocacy. How much does an advocate make if they make money? $25 to $75 an hour. Okay, well, maybe I can still do the same thing, but go under the advocacy umbrella. And now I can make me some money. So for the last 5 years, you know, it's been a different situation. So that's when I started counting. 227 assignments, 227 wins. But I was winning before I started keeping count. But even though I was winning, people talked about me like a dog. But I kept working. These people wrote op-eds on me. The Houston Chronicle called me an idiot. I'm a rebel rouser. But how much of a rebel rouser am I today? When 3 years ago, I told you what was going on in that school district, and now today the COO of the school district is indicted. You see what I'm saying? So I either got to deal with the haters, let it affect me mentally, because some days it does, or I just keep doing the work. And it's days that Dimitri and Donovan both got to tell me, you need to slow down. Donovan just said before we came on, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, man. I'm rocking 4 classes right now to get my associate's degree. My last 4 classes. So the whole time y'all been seeing me battling, I've been in college the whole time. Don't worry about me having a relationship, because that shit don't actually work with the schedule that I keep 98% of the time. Because my clock is 24/7. People calling me at 3 in the morning, they got issues. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if y'all saw the case that's going on right now with Quanell X and the brother that the cop laid on the ground and they left him on the ground, the hot pavement too long, it burned up his stomach. That was my assignment. But I know his sister. So she immediately called me. But I called Quanell, I need you to take this assignment because my plate was too full. You see what I'm saying? And the activists that could do it A lot of them have been bought off by the city of Houston. So you have the good ones, but yet you still give them headaches. I've met good activists in Atlanta, Minnesota, the good youngsters out of Louisiana. And no matter how good you may be, they're going to shit on you every single day for whatever the reason is. And for once, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, it's not the white people shitting on us. It's you black people.
Here's the funny thing, because, Demetra brought up a good point. Most activists die poor or in financial straits, and they don't really have anything. So to me, I think you can gauge a good activist if they stayed in the neighborhood. When that activist that's not nowhere in the neighborhood, I'm not saying that they're bad, but you might want to look at that activist that's on the white side of town, that lives in a $500,000 home and driving the Mercedes and stuff. One of the biggest problems I have is during Christmas, when I see these people in front of homeless shelters pulling up in their Mercedes and their Lexuses and the fur coats and stuff, and they want to feed the homeless. That is one of my biggest issues. I'm glad they're there, but it's like, did you have to come in the Mercedes? Couldn't you have been dropped off by the bus? But I think that's a good way to kind of gauge a activist that is really down for the community and the people. Because Demetra will tell you right now, I can live anywhere I want to live, but I choose to live in the old neighborhood of my city where, we have all these major problems that are going on, and I stay right here. I stay right here. Every time I get challenged or somebody wants to fight me or kill me, I give them my address. I said, I'll be waiting for you. 5 o'clock, be here. I mean, what do I got to lose, right? But I think that's a good way to gauge a good activist.
So, to me, it's really funny, and I'll address the whole Dr. Umar thing. A lot of people have given him money. They want to see the school and all of that. And, I think he was raising $1 million, $2 million or something like that. It doesn't sound like, he raised the money from what we understand. And I actually did see him buy a school. I forget where it's at, but I saw it, where he, the school and everything. So I don't know what's going on with that. But I just think, why is it that we as black people, we always want to see, let me see your books when it comes to black people. Let me see what you're doing with the money. I got to know what you're doing with the money. And you should. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. But do you do that with the church's books? Do you run up there in the church like a gangster and want to see the pastor's books? No, you don't do that. What about white people's organizations? Do you run up on them and talk about, let me see where my money went? You don't do that. Carter G. Woodson in the Miseducation of Negro, he gave a scenario. I think it was him, or maybe it was Naeem Akbar, one of them anyway. They gave the scenario that says, I think it was Naeem Akbar, says when you go to a restaurant, right? A black person goes to a restaurant. When the black person is getting ready to make the sandwich, black person like, I want to know, I didn't see you wash your hands. Did you wash your hands? I didn't see you put no soap on your hands. But when they go into the white man's sandwich shop or whatever, he gonna get them making their sandwich. They would dare question whether he washed his hands or nothing like that, because they just assume that his hands are clean. And the same thing, goes for our black activists or anybody who was doing anything for us in the community. We want to see all your credentials. Remember when they took Dr. Umar through all of that? Oh, he's not really a doctor. And then he proved that he was a doctor. It's like we take our people through the stuff for so little. Like we take them through the stuff of white people and their organization. They do all kind of stuff, and we like, well, shoot, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just, it looked good to me. So
let me show you, whether you're an activist or an advocate, you don't have to do it. You don't do things some days that you don't have. You do things some days you don't have to do. This kid here was, I think, 4 years old, Sir Romeo, and he lived in a rough neighborhood in Houston, and they shot him with like an AR or an M16, and the baby had over 35 surgeries. So it was getting close to Christmas, and he was just on my mind. So let me just show you.
even though everything has changed. At Fox 26, some things have not. We're covering our community, but in a different way, doing everything we can to keep you informed and connected. We are Fox 26 News.
Good afternoon to you. I'm Tom Ziska. Glad to have you with us. A Fox 26 exclusive for you. 5-year-old Sir Romeo, now out of the hospital. All this to celebrate a local organization collected toys for him for Christmas. Fox 26's Lindsay Henry is live from the family's apartment in the Sunnyside neighborhood with the story. Lindsay.
Well, Tom, for months we've been updating you on little Sir Romeo's condition. Back in May, he was actually at his apartment with his grandmother and older sister when stray bullets went inside their apartment and actually hit him. Since, he's had about 30 surgeries, and now his family says they're thankful he's back home. A few days before Christmas, and Sir Romeo Milam got a big surprise.
Look here, Miss Erica got you something.
Hi, how are you?
All this for you.
Christmas presents, and lots of them.
We're with a group called One Houston, One Hood. And what we do is we go out and we mentor gang members. And we try to decrease gang violence in the city of Houston. Of course, we knew what happened to this young man. And, you know, all these months he's been in the hospital, 30 surgeries, and he finally was going to come home. So we just wanted to make sure that he had a good Christmas.
I think that this outpouring of love from our organization and from the community will just give this young man a little hope. He's fought for his life, so now it's our turn to fight for his.
Friday, for the first time in 7 months, Sir Romeo wasn't in a hospital bed. He was outside playing with his friends.
He actually got to hospital yesterday. Thank God for that.
My dad helped me walk.
Inside a new room, he showed us his wounds and talked about how he's in physical therapy 3 times a week.
Because I need to work on the eating and the walking.
A big step for someone so little.
Just because he's out of hospital does not mean that it ended there. You know, he's still got healing to do on the inside. There's certain things that he can and can't do, or he'll end up back in the hospital in surgery. So we're just trying to take it one day at a time.
Now, Lori, his grandma.
So if you want to be an activist, do the damn work. Nobody asked us to do that, but it was no way in hell that we were going to let that baby have a Christmas and not have a Christmas. That wasn't going to happen, not on my watch. So how could you hate somebody that do that? I didn't get a damn thing for Christmas. Didn't care if I did or didn't. But I wanted to make sure that that young man had a good Christmas. And not just me, but everybody in our group, because that's how we operate. Dimitri.
No, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And that is, as Janelle said, very commendable. But that is what activists do. But like you said, how could you hate that? But I think we just need to come to terms with there are just people out there who are unhappy. And no matter what is going forth, they're always going to find something wrong with it. I don't care what. You could have been giving them a lung. And they would have, well, you know, why didn't you give them the other lung? It seemed like you didn't want that one. So yeah. You know, so, and this is the thing too. One of my favorite quotes comes from Dita Von T. She's like a burlesque dancer. And she says, you can be the ripest peach in the bunch, and there'll always be someone that doesn't like peaches. Basically saying that not everybody's going to like what you do, but because you know what you do is in good faith and you're actually helping people, that's why you do it. You don't do it for the people who hate you. You do it for the people who love you and who are going to benefit from what you do. But the unfortunate part is sometimes the haters, they speak loudly or louder, and they also sometimes have a little bit of power, and they can also, you know, make things a little bit harder for you. But yeah, the main thing is just to keep going.
Well, I'm going to say this because he shouldn't have said nothing. The good Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad, he was one of those guys that pitched in to buy Gilio, Stacey Rayon, the whole One Houston, One Hood team, the cliches, the Weekend Cashes, Tamika Motley's, the Erica Alberts, Oh man, and just a bunch of good people donated toys. And I'm talking about good white people from the other side of town that I work with all the time. You know, they open their hearts. And whether they knew it or not, at that moment, they were just being good activists. They were being good neighbors. And I think if we spend more of our time just trying to be good people and helping one another, no matter what the color may be, then we could live in a better place. We could live in a better place. But I don't have time in my world on a daily basis to argue with another activist. I don't have the time to sit around and debate you. I don't really care what you're doing. I just look at your body of work. And if you're not doing nothing, I'm not going to criticize you. If I need to, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call you. I'll call you and tell you I don't agree with what you did. You could have done it a different way, but I'm not going on the book and blast you. I mean, in this game, you can't do that and be successful. So, you know, I just think that everybody needs to find their lane. You need to find your lane. Don't be mad at me because I'm screaming and cussing at a school board meeting. Be mad at the school system because if they were doing what they needed to do, I wouldn't have to be up there screaming and cussing. You feel what I'm saying? Don't and then when you look at it, 4 years later, you take a school like Yates that was an F-rated school, and now it's an IB World School because I refuse to allow the school system to keep messing over the kids. But even doing that, I got talked about like a dog. But who cares? Who cares? So I got my days where it bothers me, but I just keep working. So I applaud activists all around the country that do what they do every single day because you could be doing something else. Imagine this world that we live in if we didn't have activists.
Which leads into my question. Okay, when I got started doing what I got to do, there was another guy, and he was a white guy, and he was dropping documents and all kinds of stuff. And when I ran for city council, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm so and so. This is what I do. Blah 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 blah." Does a background check on me, whatever, no big deal. But then he's a little bit older. He got sick, and it was like, "Hey, we need somebody to be a watchdog to overturn these rocks, about these snakes." And so that's where I came in. And he's still around today, and he still mentors me. So my question for you, 5-star, is when the 5-star gets too old, who's going to take your position and continue to watch out for the community? We need to start galvanizing younger activists or people to be prepared to be activists to look out for the community.
Well, it might shock some people. I'm not even grooming this person. They watch me all the time. And they started their level of activism when they were in their senior year at HSPVA, I think it was one of the magnet schools in Houston. But it happens to be my old teammate, Kendrick Owens, and I'm not going to say her name, is a girl that will take my place. And when I say she's a monster, from the time that she hit Howard University, she started raising hell. I think she's going into her senior year. She started raising hell from the time she hit the ground. So, the ones that are there that have the passion to be an activist, you can have all the attributes that you want to have. You can have the money, you can have the flexibility, but if you don't have the heart, you're not going to be good at what you need to be good at. If you can't wake up with this in your heart every morning, you're not going to be good at it. So I definitely have somebody that when I say I don't have to die, just hit a point where, mama, my knees ain't working no more. I'm my body's tired. I can't handle it no more. She ready. And that's the crazy part. It's a woman. But she ready. She got the heart.
And that's the funny thing about the civil rights movement. When Dr. King and all the leaders got killed, their lieutenants were too afraid to take a bullet too. We got to start preparing for when the general can't move anymore. He might not necessarily pass, but if there's nobody ready to step up when we're ready to move on, then the snakes win. The people the people who are out for no good are going to win because nothing gets exposed. And I hear it all the time out here. We had government employees. I used to get escorted out of City Hall because I was raising so much hell in there. If you ever come to my city and you say, there's this little black guy. Every city employee will say, oh, Donovan Sadiq, yeah, he lives right a couple blocks over there. They all know me over there. But none of these guys stood up when it was time for, doing the right thing. And I'm in there yelling and screaming. Make a long story short. The city employees started having problems. Now, these are the same city employees that helped escort me out. I get documents dropped on my front door asking for my help in the environment that's going on in City Hall because they're too afraid of losing their jobs and all that other stuff. So, it isn't about tit for tat. Like the general said, you got to have a heart for it. Even though those people, in my opinion, did me wrong, I still went in there and stood up for what was right for them.
Demetrius says it all the time. It's a system of oppression. I don't fight for people. I fight the system of oppression. So anything that can hinder somebody's ability to be great, then that's what I'm going to fight for. And that's what a true activist does every single day. We don't, people don't even understand. I hate news cameras. I hate doing interviews. But in my group, nobody else was going to do them. So, I'm just going to bring this character out and just be me. I gave the superintendent all that hell in the world. Ted Greer did songs about him, drug him. So I had to give him a soundbite the night he retired. Well, Mr. Monroe, what do you think about Ted Greer going off into retirement? Bye. That's all I said. And it made the nightly news. So, you get to have a little fun doing this here. Some of the things I've done, I'm not the traditional activist. I mean, how many activists that are so passionate about education that they would go chain themselves to the school board's fence in 100-degree heat? 100-degree heat. I chained myself to that fence, and them people were in there. We not gonna let him die. I'm out there sweating, about to fall out, but they wasn't gonna let me die for a reason. If I'd have died fighting for them kids in that manner, they would have to erect a statue of me. Because when I go, just like the other great ones in all the other cities, when they go, we were here. You're going to miss us when we go. And that's part of the problem that we're stuck as a people right now. Because when the older folks put the mantles down or they killed us all off, nobody wanted to pick up the baton. You see what I'm saying? You got to have heart to do this, man. And if you're going to do this, you might as well start your own company because they're going to attack your job, your marriage, everything. They're going to come after you in any way that they can come after you. But at this point where I'm at, man, y'all done messed me up so much with women. I don't even, it's what it is. Give me some baby oil in a bald face room and I can handle my business. I ain't got time to be worried about no woman at this age. I'm out here fighting a battle, man. I'm just telling y'all what it is, man. It's not easy being an activist at all in 2020.
Okay. No, I was just really, I want to say this too. A lot of times, activists move in silence. Some activists, you'll never know that they're being that. Some people, help behind the scenes and they don't want a lot of limelight. And so, not saying that's for people who are in the limelight, like you said, Gary, you don't prefer it, but you have it. So it's whatever, but there's some people who move in silence and do things, on a hush, but they're getting things done. And I also want to talk about what you guys were saying, gatekeepers. There are some people who are activists or, in a position of power, if you will, and they become gatekeepers in that they do not want to give the game, pass on the game or the blueprint to someone else that may be able to take the ball. Like every leader or activist or whoever, I think they should have somebody that they are grooming in case something happens to them. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about death, but anything may happen. You might just say, you know what, I'm moving to Africa. I'm tired. I'm done. Here are the keys to the gate. Now you take it forward. So I think it's important for activists to be out here. For activists to groom somebody else, if you will, and not become a gatekeeper. And I would also say this, and this is kind of hard for people to hear, but activists are leaders that also need to learn how to follow and also take advice and listen to others around them, because a lot of times when people get in a position of leadership, if you will, or activism, they get this what you call this King Kong mentality, if you will. You remember on Training Day when Denzel was like, "I'm King Kong," basically like, who gonna check me? Who gonna tell me what to do? Well, every advisor has an advisor. They have somebody who can pull their coattail and say, "Hey, you know what? I think you're getting a little bit off the chain here, or you might need to go a little bit to the right instead of the left." But you have to be able to take advice, and this is the tough one. More importantly, sometimes you got to say, "I was wrong. I was wrong, and that wasn't my intentions, you know. But I was wrong. Forgive me. How can I make A, B, C, and D right?" You know what I mean? Because people are looking.
Well, I tell you this here. I put Al's comment up, and he made that comment about me with the chaining myself to the gate. He said it wasn't worth it. Let me tell you why it was worth it. Because I used to listen to my mom all the time tell me she had to stop going to school in the 10th grade, and she didn't have an education. My father did not have an education. And I had the opportunity to go to school and be great. And I did great in sports and I did great in class. It's just some days I just didn't want to do it. So, you know, it was worth it because I look at these kids who I know can learn, but yet they're not giving them the tools that they need to be successful. So if you give them the tools, they can exceed they can go above and beyond in the classroom. See, those state mandated tests don't prove anything. It's just the basic learning that they need in their classroom. And if they're not giving it to them, then somebody has to stand up for those children. So yes, it was worth it because the reward was when they wanted to close the black schools, we forced them to rebuild all of the black schools. Put this stuff in here that these children need. When 59 schools were failing in the Houston Independent School District, you had Dr. Grenita Lathan show up and a bunch of good teachers that say, we're not going to stop battling. A bunch of good principals saying, we're not going to stop battling. And they counting on me to battle in the boardroom to get them what they need. So you went from 59 failing schools to none because you gave them what they needed. So when I see that happen with our children, you can't tell me that our children cannot learn. But what I tell you is kids never fail, schools fail kids. So yes, it was worth it. And I loved every minute of it. I love the fact that they brought me a bunch of Gatorade. They had never given me anything, you know, and they made sure I didn't fall out. So yeah, it was worth it. And Donovan, I know you got to go. So give us your final thoughts because I know you got to go to class.
My final thoughts. Hey, you guys. Again, great talking point. This is one of the greatest shows on the internet with conversation. But again, everybody, we got to start doing our homework on a lot of people that we call legends and icons and just whatever we're going to call them, because you got to go by their record. You just have to go by their record. The greatest basketball player that ever played the game, if you go by the records, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You just can't go by popularity and what everybody else is just going with. We are less than 50 days from election.
When you say that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, by the numbers, is the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. But the night that he retired, Chick Hearns asked him who was the greatest player he played against, Magic, Bird, Jordan. And Jabbar said, no, it was Earl LeGoat Manigault, the coldest baller that had never even made it to the league. So there are people out here, like Demetra said earlier, that don't want the credit. You'll never know the work that they do. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? And those are the ones that I love with everything in my fiber. But go ahead, Donovan. I ain't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, but exactly. And so, you know, again, you know, look at these candidates, look at their records. And if their record to you is what it is and what you want to vote for, then you go to hell on and vote for that person, because I'm telling you, you got two of the same damn nominees. A racist is a racist.
Final thoughts, Ms. Demetra?
Well, I'd like to actually just pick off what you said about Al's comment. He says it wasn't worth that. I always talk about not imposing your limitations on other people. Just because something is not worth it to you, you don't get to tell other people what's worth it for them. We got to get out of the habit too, and I think especially us as Black people, everybody, but I'm speaking to us, stop putting your limitations on other people. One of my favorite drawings in the whole wide world, my nephew was now 5. He was probably, I don't even think he was a year old when he did this drawing, but it's scribbling all over the place. Nothing makes sense. It's colors and scribbling. And I have it up on my wall over here. And I say, I love that picture because it reminds me to not put limits on myself. Because when children are that age, they don't understand limits. He's coming all over the place. But I told his mother, I said, one day, whether it's you, his father, or somebody's going to tell that little boy, you got to color inside the lines. Oh, you can't make his hair blue. You have to make it brown. Somebody's going to put limitations on him and tell him what to think instead of how to think. And so the point that I'm making is we got to stop putting our limitations on other people. To you, it's not worth it, but to somebody it is, and that person's going to actually get something out of it, not necessarily anything monetary. Maybe it's personal fulfillment or knowing that they actually help somebody, but you by all means cannot tell other people what's worth it to them. That is a personal choice, not something that you can impose upon other people. And not just specifically speaking to Al, but I'm just saying in general.
Well, Al probably over there got a big glass of yak, so he just kicking back, drinking him a little something. Al I love him to death, but doesn't bother me. I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me I shouldn't have done it, but I felt that I had to do it because these kids needed something. They needed these people to listen to something, and that opened a line of communication to where I could communicate with the school system, communicate with board members, the ones that wanted to talk, so that we could get to some common ground and make sure that it was what it was, man. I mean, not just me. Houston is a city that has so many different activists. Hy, the Asian guy, good dude, fighting for the turtles. Officer Kathy Swilly. I mean, it's so many. Dr. Muhammad, Derek Muhammad. Kofi Tahaka. I mean, Larry McKenzie, Travis McGee. I mean, it's just so many that at the end of the day, if you want to do this, you got to have heart. You got to have the passion to do it. And I can't knock anybody that do the work. Any city that I go to, I love them because they don't have to do it. They don't have to care. They could care about other things, and you couldn't get mad at them. They could just care about their family. But some days we put a whole community, a whole city on our back, and we just go do the work. So I applaud you, Demetra, for coming up with this subject matter tonight. And man, it's always a good conversation, man. It's always a good conversation. But know one thing: if you ain't doing right, old 5-star gonna be on you. So I want to say this last thing. October 20th, Warzone Radio, Street 100, The Heat. Don't think I'm going by myself. My people's coming with me. I just got to start so early in the morning. I know it will be at 5 o'clock in the morning for them. So you will hear Demetra and Donovan on the radio. And the only way that you're going to be able to listen, you're going to have to download the app because it's internet radio. But I mean, we finna have a ball. I got Rodney Bingham as a co-host. Bingham has been on BET, Comic View. He's been on all of that stuff. He's just a good dude, been knowing him forever. But, want to thank P-Man, Hutch, and Maurice for taking time out to even think that we could be good enough to go to radio. So just another way to, expand our platform so that we can get more stuff out. What type of program will it be? Man, you're going to think Tom Joyner is back in the building, man. I'm telling you now, because I ain't doing all that foolishness, but I'm going to jam me some Frankie Beverly and some Isley Brothers from 7 to 10 every morning. And we go running 5 days a week. So Make sure that y'all download the app. October 20th, they're gonna roll out the red carpet for us. And I already got my 5-star general helmet, man. Already got the helmet, man. Got my goggles ready, man. So it is what it is. So thank y'all so much for what you do. Because without y'all, we wouldn't be able to do anything, never be able to do the things that we do. And we took an idea and we ran with it. So all them good people that tune in every day, that listen to us, we actually love you. So, you know, it is what it is. Those that hate us, you ain't said a goddamn thing. Say, man, another spirited discussion with the best in the business. You just watched another episode of the War Zone. My man Donovan Sadiq had to pop out. But the Queen Demetra K, on behalf of her, I am the 5-star general. And I want to thank you. We coming back tomorrow night. Don't miss the next Hood CNN at 8:30 tonight. I'm going in, man. I'm going in. If you're corrupt, I'm coming to see you. Until tomorrow night, we'll holler at you.